The mysterious summoned Jason stood alone on the broken floor of Moon Outpost 17, wiping oil off his hands. The place was old and forgotten. Once used by scientists, now it was just him, fixing old machines and keeping the systems from falling apart. He liked the silence. No one around, no noise, no drama, just stars above and metal below. But that silence was suddenly broken. A loud humming sound filled the room. The lights blinked, then glowed bright blue. Jason turned, confused. He hadn't touched anything. The air changed. It became thick, heavy. And then, right in front of him, a glowing ring appeared. A circular portal hovered above the ground, spinning fast, crackling with light. Jason stepped back. What the hell? Before he could run, the portal pulled him like a magnet. His body lifted off the ground. He screamed, arms flailing. Then everything went dark. When Jason opened his eyes, he was no longer on the moon. He was lying on a soft bed, under a golden ceiling. The room around him was huge, too clean, too bright. Alien symbols glowed on the walls. Strange machines floated in the air. The air smelled like flowers and metal. A soft voice echoed from behind. He is awake. Jason turned quickly. 3 alien women stood at the foot of the bed. Tall, elegant, with smooth silver blue skin and glowing eyes. Their faces were calm but full of worry. One of them stepped closer. She looked the most human, with long white hair flowing over her robe. She placed her hand on her chest and said slowly, "Welcome, human." Jason sat up. "Where am I? What do you want?" She spoke carefully, her words broken but clear. "You are safe. You are in Xelyra, our world." Jason frowned. "You kidnapped me." "No. We summoned. Portal chose you." The other aliens stepped back as the first one moved closer. Jason noticed something then. Their faces, they weren't angry or cold. They were scared. "Why me?" he asked. The first alien woman looked down. "Because you are our last chance." Jason was taken through long crystal halls. Floating machines scanned him, but gently. No one hurt him. He walked beside the white-haired woman who introduced herself as Xelyra, a royal priestess of the Xelyra. She explained slowly, "Our females cannot make life, for many cycles. Our race is dying." Jason stopped. "What do you mean?" Xelyra's eyes turned softer. "No child born in 400 years. Our men cannot give seed. All hope gone. Until, ancient book said, find human." Jason raised an eyebrow. "You think I can fix your entire species? You are not first we tried to find. You are first who made it through portal. Others not survived the pull." He felt his stomach twist. "So I'm just breeding material to you?" Xelyra looked pained. "No, you are hope. We don't force. We ask." Jason stayed quiet. It was too much. He was taken to a large chamber, filled with alien women. Some young, some old. All with eyes full of sadness. They looked at Jason not with lust, but with need. A deep, painful need. Like children looking at the last candle in darkness, one of the elders stepped forward. Her voice shook as she spoke. "You don't know us, but if you can give even one of us a child, we will remember your name for 1,000 years." Jason looked around. They weren't monsters. They were broken. Desperate. He took a deep breath. "What do I have to do?" Later, in a quiet garden under 2 moons, Jason sat alone. Xelyra came and sat beside him. "We will not rush you." "I didn't ask for this," Jason said. "But maybe I was meant to be here." Xelyra nodded. "Tomorrow you meet one of our own. She wants to try, but only if you say yes." Jason looked up at the sky. Stars, planets, and now, responsibility beyond Earth. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring. But one thing was clear, This was no ordinary mission. This was a call from fate. The council of desperation. Jason's heart beat louder than the silence. The council chamber was like nothing he had ever seen. Walls made of crystal curved into the sky, glowing softly with strange colors. Giant floating rings hovered above, pulsing like a heartbeat. At the center was a raised platform shaped like a star, and standing tall upon it was the queen. Her name was Xelyra, queen of the Xelyra. She had long silver horns that curved behind her head like a crown, and violet eyes that watched Jason with ancient calm. Jason tried to speak, but his voice cracked. "Am I on trial?" "No," the queen answered, her voice echoing in his mind. "You are our question." He didn't understand. She saw his confusion and gestured with a slow wave of her six-fingered hand. A giant hologram appeared above him. Images flashed, hospitals full of empty cribs, data charts showing plummeting birth rates, graves of stillborn children. Jason couldn't look away. Then came an image of him, hovering above the portal, being pulled into their world. "You are the answer written in our ancient blood," the queen said. "Our ancestors spoke of your kind, humans, the last fertile flame." Jason took a step forward. "You brought me here, just to breed?" A ripple of murmurs filled the chamber. The queen raised her hand and silence returned. "No," she said firmly. "We brought you here to ask." Jason was led to a smaller council chamber where 10 of the highest elders waited, all female, all old, but powerful. One elder leaned forward. "We are the last generation born naturally." Another added, "We tried everything, gene mixing, artificial wombs, cloning, even sacred rituals." A third finished, her voice cracking. "Nothing worked, until your presence made one of our young fertile again." Jason blinked. "Wait, already?" "Yes," the queen confirmed. "Your mere nearness changed her body. Her chemistry awakened. Her womb accepted life again." Jason sat down slowly. "You mean this is real?" Xelyra, the priestess, stepped beside him. "It is more real than anything we have hoped for in centuries." Then came the most unexpected moment. A young alien girl was brought in. Barefoot, thin, nervous. She looked no older than 20 in human years. She had soft lilac skin and bright golden eyes that avoided Jason's. "This is Ly'na," said the queen. "She has volunteered. She has long dreamed of being a mother." Jason stood up gently. "She looks terrified." "She is," Xelyra said. "She fears being rejected. Many Xelyra women believe they are broken, beyond saving." Jason slowly approached Ly'na. She didn't move, but her eyes flicked up to his. He knelt beside her. "Hey, I'm scared too." She blinked. Her lips parted, but no sound came. "You don't have to do anything," Jason said softly. "Let's just talk." The queen watched in silence as Jason reached out, not with power, but with kindness. For the first time, Ly'na smiled. Later, Jason was taken to the Hall of Bonds. There, images of past Xelyra lovers were carved into glowing stone, thousands of years old. Couples who had saved their race before. Now Jason stood before an empty space. Xelyra spoke behind him. "If you succeed, your name will be carved here." Jason looked up at the blank stone. "I didn't ask to be remembered." "No," Xelyra said, "but heroes never do." That night, Jason lay awake in his new chamber, staring at the alien stars outside the tall window. He thought of Earth, of the small things, coffee, traffic, music. But now, an entire species needed him. Not as a tool, not as a weapon, as hope. And tomorrow he would begin the test that could decide the fate of a galaxy. The test subject, Jason paused. He had expected wires, monitors, and cold machines. He had prepared himself for strange tools and alien scientists. staring through glass, but instead he found silence. Warm lights. Flowers growing in pots near the walls. And her, Ly'na, the same girl he had seen at the council. She sat on the ground, arms around her knees, glowing hair falling like silk down her back. She didn't look up. Jason closed the door behind him gently. Ly'na? She flinched but didn't run. Jason walked slowly. It's just me. No one else. She finally looked up, and he froze. Her golden eyes were full of fear and shame. I failed before, she whispered. I am defective. Jason knelt down in front of her. You're not broken. And this isn't a test, we're just two people in a room. Her eyes searched his face, surprised by his calm voice. No pain? She asked softly. No pain, Jason said. Only trust. Only choice. She rose slowly and he helped her to a soft bench in the center of the room. Strange glowing symbols covered the bench. It was a scanner, Jason guessed. But no scientists watched. No cameras buzzed. Only quiet. Only her. Jason noticed her hands. Were shaking. He gently placed his over hers. You don't have to be afraid of me, he said. She looked away. Your touch. It feels like sun on ice. Jason smiled. That's the first time someone said I'm warm. She laughed, a soft, delicate sound. And then, silence returned. Time passed. They talked. About Earth. About her planet. About loneliness. Ly'na told him that her mother had wept for days when the doctor said her daughter would never have children. That she had grown up feeling empty. Useless. That she had even wished she'd never been born. Jason told her about Earth's nights under stars, about rain, about holding someone close just because it felt right. He didn't mention war, or death, or how forgotten he had felt in that outpost before the portal. Because somehow, here with her, that loneliness was starting to fade. A soft chime echoed in the room. The scanner glowed beneath them. Jason looked down. Is that? Ly'na nodded, breath trembling. It's reading our bond. The alien machine began humming, displaying glowing shapes in the air. 2. Life signatures, hers and his. Lines connecting, lines pulsing. Suddenly, Ly'na gasped. Jason stood. Are you okay? She placed a hand over her stomach. Warmth, energy. Something was changing. The machine blinked red, then green. She closed her eyes and whispered, It's happening. Xelyra burst into the room with 2 doctors behind her. They scanned Ly'na. The medbot hovered silently, then blinked a blue light. Her womb has accepted the bond, said one of the doctors in awe. It's begun, whispered Xelyra. For the first time in centuries, Jason watched, unsure what to say. He hadn't touched her with any intent. He had only talked, comforted her, listened. But somehow, that was enough. Enough to awaken life. Ly'na was gently helped to a healing pod. Before the doctors carried her, she looked back at Jason. You didn't take, she said. You gave. Jason's throat tightened. He just nodded. Back in his room, Jason stood in front of a mirror. The markings had returned. Lines of light wrapping around his arms, glowing softly like ancient fire. Xelyra entered without knocking. It is the bond mark, she said. The ancestors called it the path of life. It appears only when 2 souls truly align. Jason turned to her. So, what happens now? Xelyra smiled. Now, we begin again, thanks to you. Outside the palace, the stars blinked brighter. For the first time in 400 years, the wind carried laughter again. And somewhere inside the healing chamber, a young alien girl slept peacefully, with life growing inside her, because one human didn't see her as broken, but as someone worth saving. The bonding ceremony. At first, he thought it was a dream. The melody was soft, like wind moving through silver trees. It echoed gently through the air. When Jason opened his eyes, he found his room bathed in a soft golden light. The walls shimmered as if alive. His skin tingled. He sat up slowly and looked down. Glowing markings had appeared on his chest and shoulders, curved, symbols and fine lines glowing faint blue and gold. Before he could speak, the door slid open. Xelyra entered, bowing slightly. "The bond has marked you." Jason blinked. "It's permanent?" Xelyra smiled. "It is not a wound. It is a blessing." As he stepped outside, he was greeted by a scene he couldn't have imagined. Hundreds of Xelyra women knelt silently, in long lines, heads bowed. They wore flowing white robes and carried glowing flowers in their hands. The queen stood waiting in the center of the great plaza. She raised a hand. "Today, we begin the ceremony of life." Jason looked around. The sky above was pink and lavender, and two suns shone side by side. It felt like stepping into a storybook. He whispered to Xelyra, "What do I have to do?" "Nothing," she replied. "You have already done everything." The queen led Jason to a high platform where a long golden cloth had been laid across the stone. At the other end stood Ly'na. She was radiant. Her skin shimmered softly. Her eyes were no longer full of fear, but strength. Her gown was made of living silk, woven with lights that pulsed like stars. In her hands, she held a small bowl filled with glowing water. Jason walked slowly toward her. Every step echoed with silence. When he reached her, Ly'na dipped her fingers into the bowl and touched Jason's forehead. "I share my breath," she whispered. Then she touched her own forehead. "You share yours." Jason nodded. "I do." The crowd sighed softly, a breath of unity. Xelyra stepped forward and raised her staff high. "The human has bonded with the chosen." "The chosen has accepted," the crowd answered in one voice. Xelyra touched her staff to the stone, and the platform glowed beneath Jason's and Ly'na's feet. From beneath the surface, roots of light rose like vines, wrapping around their ankles, then fading into their skin. Jason felt warmth, not just on his body, but inside his chest. Peace, belonging, purpose. After the ceremony, a feast was held. Alien instruments played soft music. Fruits from distant stars were offered. Ly'na sat beside Jason, laughing gently, her hand resting on her belly. Other young alien girls looked at her with hope. Jason noticed how many now smiled when they looked at him, not as an outsider, but as someone who gave them belief again. "The queen raised her cup, to the human, and to the first of many new beginnings." Jason raised his glass in return. "To Ly'na, and to a future worth building." That night, as the sky darkened and the moons rose, Jason stood at the balcony, watching the stars. Xelyra joined him. "You do not yet understand," she said softly, "but what you gave was more than life." Jason looked at his glowing arms. "Then what was it?" "Hope," she replied. "And hope spreads faster than blood." He turned to her. "Will the others come to me now?" "Some will," she said gently. "But not all. You are not here to save a species alone, only to show them it's possible." Jason nodded slowly. "Then, let's make sure the next one also feels seen." Xelyra placed a hand over her heart and bowed. "You are not a tool, Jason. You are our turning point." In the quiet night, Ly'na rested peacefully. A soft heartbeat echoed within her. The child had already begun to grow, proof that their people were not cursed forever. And above them, stars blinked as if watching the first chapter of a new age begin. A target on his back, Jason stared at the necklace. It was a small thing, woven from silver vines with a glowing crystal in the center. She never took it off. Never. And now it lay here, on the ground, surrounded by deep claw marks and signs of a struggle. His heart sank. "Ly'na?" No answer. He ran through the garden, calling her name. Nothing. Only the wind moved now, blowing petals across the shattered stones. The guards were gone. Even the drones were offline. Something had gone very, very wrong. Within minutes, the palace alarms screamed. Red lights flashed across the halls. Soldiers ran past with energy spears. Jason was pulled aside by Xelyra, her face pale with panic. "She's gone," he said, his voice low and shaking. "Someone took her." Xelyra nodded grimly. "A faction. The Old Blood." Jason frowned. "Who?" Xelyra explained quickly. "They are alien males, noble-born, once leaders, but now empty. They blame human arrival. They call you a parasite." Jason clenched his fists. "So they kidnapped her to send a message?" "No," she said. "They plan to erase the child inside her. They believe it's unnatural." Jason's eyes darkened. "Then I'm going after her." The queen refused at first. "You are sacred now," she said. "We cannot risk you." Jason stood firm. "If I don't go, she dies." "I didn't bond with Ly'na just for a ceremony. I made a promise." The queen saw something in him, something their men no longer had. Conviction. She gave him an old weapon, an energy blade shaped like a curved dagger. "This was forged in our war of survival. Carry it with pride." Jason nodded. "I'll bring her back." The coordinates led him far into the wastelands, beyond the glowing cities and sacred towers. There the skies turned gray and the winds carried ash from old wars. He rode a hover beast, half machine, half animal, across the burning plains, guided only by Ly'na's life signal blinking faintly on the scanner. Every mile the signal weakened until it vanished completely. Jason stopped at the mouth of a canyon covered in twisted bones and ancient banners. "They're underground," he whispered. He pressed a hand to the stone and felt a hum, a secret path. The ground opened beneath him. He landed inside a shadowed chamber dimly lit with fire crystals. Footsteps echoed. Then figures appeared, armored males, red eyes, cold stares. "You don't belong here," one snarled. Jason raised his blade. "I came for her." Laughter. "She carries a cursed child," another growled. "It will stain our bloodlines." Jason's voice cut through the dark. "She carries hope, something you gave up on." A fight broke out. They lunged at him, claws and weapons flashing. Jason moved fast, slashing, dodging. The blade in his hand pulsed with energy, responding to his fury. He wasn't a soldier, but something inside him had awakened since the bond. He wasn't just fighting for love, he was fighting for life. Blood sprayed, sparks flew. Finally he reached the chamber where Ly'na lay, tied, weak, eyes half closed. He rushed to her. "I'm here." She opened her eyes faintly. "You found me." Jason sliced her bindings and pulled her close. "We're leaving." But more footsteps echoed down the hall. Too many. Jason grabbed a small shield from the wall and held it up. "Stay behind me." He fought with everything he had, screaming, bleeding, protecting her like a wall of fire. Then, a loud explosion. The Queen's guards burst through the far wall, firing stun cannons. The rebels scattered. Jason fell to one knee, exhausted. But Ly'na was safe. Later, back in the palace, the Queen herself cleaned Jason's wounds. "You risked your life," she said softly. "You proved that you are more than breeding material." Jason shook his head. "No, I proved I'm hers." Ly'na took his hand, her voice calm but strong. "And I am yours." That night, a new law was passed. The child in Ly'na's womb was declared sacred, and the human who saved her was no longer a stranger. He was now part of the bloodline, the symbol of a future no longer feared, but protected. Rebirth Jason stood behind the glass wall, fists clenched, barely breathing. Ly'na floated inside the glowing pod, her body wrapped in soft energy streams, connected to scanners and pulse monitors. Her eyes were closed, her hands resting over her stomach. All around her, the medics moved quickly, their hands glowing with technology, their faces tense with awe. "Is she okay?" Jason asked for the third time. Xelyra placed a calm hand on his shoulder. "Not only is she okay, she's changing." Jason turned toward the pod. "What do you mean, changing?" "She is entering the rebirth phase," Xelyra said softly. "A state not seen in 400 years. The head doctor floated toward them, her voice shaky but excited. "The child is growing faster than anything we predicted. The bond energy between them is not just stable, it is multiplying." Jason frowned. "Is that dangerous?" "No," she said, barely able to contain her amazement. "It's miraculous." On the monitors, alien runes turned golden. The fetal energy pulse began shining so brightly that even the walls of the chamber responded, vibrating softly in rhythm with the tiny life inside. Then, Ly'na opened her eyes. Jason rushed in as the pod's door slid open. Ly'na stepped out barefoot, radiant. Her skin glowed faintly and a soft humming came from her body, as if she carried a star within her. Jason stopped short. You look different." She smiled, taking his hand. "I feel different. I feel alive." She touched her stomach. "It's real. I can feel it. Every part of me knows it now." Jason knelt and gently placed his hand over her belly. It pulsed softly beneath his touch. For the first time, Jason heard it. A heartbeat. Not hers. Not his. Theirs. The Queen was informed within minutes. She arrived dressed in ceremonial armor, her long silver cloak trailing behind her. When she saw Ly'na, she didn't speak. She knelt. To Jason's shock, the Queen placed her forehead to Ly'na's hand. "You are the first mother," the Queen whispered, "and the child you carry is the beginning of our new age." Ly'na gently pulled the Queen back to her feet. "We're not gods. We're just people who didn't give up." The Queen smiled through tears. "Exactly. That is what makes you sacred." Soon, the story of the rebirth spread across the planet. Xelyra skies were filled with lights. Temples opened after centuries. Alien women sang songs not heard since the Golden Age. And everywhere they spoke of the child growing within Ly'na and the human who made it possible. Some called it destiny. Some called it science. Jason just called it love. A few nights later, Jason stood outside the crystal hall, watching alien fireflies glow under twin moons. Xelyra joined him, her face thoughtful. "You should know," she said slowly. "You've changed more than just her." Jason raised a brow. "How so?" She tapped her chest. "Some of the young women, just by being near you, their blood readings have started to shift. The infertility curse is lifting." Jason stared at her. "So I'm some kind of walking cure?" "Not just you," she said. "It's what you represent. Connection, kindness, willingness to care. You healed us in ways we forgot needed healing." Jason looked down at his glowing hands. "I never planned this." Xelyra smiled. "The best things never are." Later, in their private quarters, Ly'na lay beside him, her head on his chest. "I was born thinking I would die alone," she whispered. Jason kissed her forehead. "Now you'll live with a whole generation calling you mother." She chuckled, softly. "And what will they call you?" Jason grinned. "Probably something ridiculous like Life Giver or Miracle Seed." Ly'na laughed. But in her golden eyes, love shimmered bright. In a quiet chamber near the palace, another girl sat holding her stomach. A glow had appeared there too. She looked up at the stars and whispered, "Thank you, human. Humanity's new legacy." The star throne chamber was silent. Every elder, every noble, every citizen allowed inside stood still, watching. Jason walked slowly toward the Queen, his cloak trailing behind him, now woven with the sigils of two worlds, Earth and Xelyra. In her arms was Ly'na's child, small, glowing, alive. Born just hours ago, the first Xelyra child in 400 years, and half human. The Queen's voice echoed through the crystal walls. This child is not just ours. This child is both, a bridge between stars. Jason knelt before them, his hand over his heart. I didn't come here to be a symbol, he said. I only wanted to help one broken soul. The Queen smiled gently. You helped a galaxy, she turned toward the crowd. We once ruled systems, now we nearly vanished in silence. But this man, this human, reminded us that life is not born from pride. It's born from compassion. All around, the aliens bowed their heads. Jason felt Ly'na step beside him, her eyes tired but glowing. She came back from the edge of extinction, the Queen said, because one outsider dared to see her not as a vessel, but as a person. Later, in the sacred garden, Jason held the baby in his arms. So small, so soft. Eyes like stars. He had no idea what fatherhood looked like, especially on an alien world. But as the child gripped his finger with tiny glowing hands, Jason's heart knew. This was right. Ly'na leaned against him. She already knows your scent. She quiets when you hold her. Jason chuckled. Maybe she senses I'm terrified. She senses you care, Ly'na said, brushing the baby's hair with her fingers. That's enough. Within weeks, more miracles followed. Other Xelyra women began showing signs of fertility, not from physical contact with Jason, but from emotional bonding, shared space, and hope. Whatever the curse had been, it had cracked, and the flood of life returned. A sacred council was formed, one that included Jason as Earth's voice. The Queen offered him the title of Honor Father of their people. He refused it at first. I'm just a mechanic from a dead outpost, he said. Xelyra responded, not anymore. Soon humans were invited into Xelyra space, not for war, not for trade, but for connection. Jason's story became a legend on both sides, told in classrooms, passed down through stars, the human who didn't conquer, the human who healed. Years later, Jason sat beneath the twin moons with a little girl on his shoulders. Her skin shimmered lilac, her eyes were golden like her mother's, but her laughter was all him. Daddy, she asked, what's Earth like? Jason smiled. Loud, messy, beautiful, just like you. She giggled and pointed at the stars. Can we go there? One day, he promised. Behind them, Ly'na watched, hand resting on her second child. More followed. Not just from Jason, but from a future he helped create. A statue was raised in the palace square, of Ly'na holding a child, and Jason, standing beside her, offering his hand not to a throne, but to the people. And the plaque read, He did not bring us fire, nor weapons, nor riches. He brought us something greater, hope reborn.